everyone can look at the agenda, we began again with the group of just sharing that there will be a time, and it'll be right after this, a section for introductions, formal introductions, and any agency announcements. We will then follow that by our subcommittee updates. We will then receive an update on Problem Gambling Awareness Month activities. We'll do a communications connections, which would be our capacity building piece of the meeting. We will fill out a satisfaction survey and hear a little bit more about that. I think Dan, or is that Dan? Well, Dan will do the community connections, and then we'll do the survey with Krupa, and then we will adjourn. So if we want to go on to the fourth slide, Krupa, would you like to have us go through the names, pronouns, the organization we are affiliated with, the communities we serve, and any announcements? I will go ahead and start. I'm Yasi Delgado. I co-chair the coalition with Joe Podlatzik, and I go by pronouns she, her. I am affiliated with the coalition and District 211 through Schaumburg High School, where I serve as the Director of Student Services. And upcoming events or announcements, I guess the only one that I truly have that is absolutely my world is that we have a board meeting this Thursday where we're going to hear a little bit more about offerings that we will have available for students and for families, particularly our return to school. So if you are if you're connected with any District 211 school, invite you to maybe watch the board meeting or learn about it a little bit later.
So we'll go over the different sectors that make up our community and ask if any folks are here from each of the sectors, if they'd like to introduce themselves. So are there any folks from businesses such as La Michoacana or Comcast Business? Okay. So next is civic organization. So this includes Trickster Cultural Center as well as public libraries. Any folks from either of these places? Alrighty, so next is our community residents. Are there any residents of any of the communities that we serve? Which is quite a lot. It's really a huge, it's really all of the northwest suburbs, I think. Okay. Next are faith-based organizations. So this includes Countryside Church, Unitarian Universalist, as well as Kingdom Impact Ministries. Does anybody, I think I see somebody from Kingdom Impact Theater Ministries. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, I was having some trouble with my earbuds. I'm Michael Myers, Director of Kingdom Impact Theater Ministries, and I'm glad to be here today to see so many shining faces in little boxes to the right. And just to invite you to a program on Zoom tomorrow at 7:17 p.m. It's called Women of God. It's our weekly, you can see that there. It's our monthly program called An Evening with Kingdom Impact Theater Ministries. And this one celebrates Women's History Month and asks questions such as, what are your qualifications or what are your standards for following or selecting leaders? And our special guest is Zena Jacques, who is the pastor of Community Church at Barrington. So if you'd like some information, please give me a shout out in the chat room or just let me know separate from this. And thanks for joining.
Yes, great to have you, and thank you so much. Are there any new people who are part of any faith-based organizations that would like to introduce themselves or share updates? Okay, cool. So let's move on next to any government agencies, local, federal representatives. This includes new folks as well as old members as well.
If I can jump in. Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Reese. I'm the Deputy District Director for Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy. I go by she and her. And just wanted to let you know that both our offices are incredibly busy right now. Our office in DC is obviously pushing legislation that has great impact on what you do, hopefully providing additional services. Obviously, the Equality Act is still being debated in the Senate. We are looking at ways to help implement the American Recovery Act. So those are all the things that are keeping our folks in DC busy. In the district office, we are available, even though our office is not fully open to the public. We are available and fully staffed remotely to assist our constituents, organizations, businesses within the district with any kind of issues you may have or any questions you may have. So please feel free to bring any of that to us. We are happy to help, and we are certainly here to listen and bring any of your concerns to the congressman. So I'm very happy to be here, and I look forward to hearing everything that's on everyone's minds today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. We appreciate you being here. So next up are healthcare organizations. Are any representatives from any healthcare organizations here with us today, such as Amita, Streamwood, or any new members? Okay, well, next up are housing organizations. So this includes Shelter Inc., Northwest Compass, and as well as any new people that might fit this category. Okay, and then we are at judicial and courts. If there are any members of the legal committee or community, as well as new members who are visiting today to our meeting, feel free to share any updates and introduce yourself. Okay, so law enforcement, local police departments, the FBI, any representatives from any law enforcement organizations? Okay. Next up is media. Any local media outlets such as news, radio, and podcasts organizations? Alrighty, so next are parents or guardians of 8th through 12th graders.
I'm a parent, as I have an 8th grader as well. We will get through junior high.
Alrighty, so next up are schools. So any folks from public or private schools can introduce themselves as well as share any updates.
I'm a student at Schaumburg High School. I'm a senior this year, and I just wanted to say real quick, I'm super excited to be here today because I attended a few of the meetings last year, so I'm very excited to be back.
Cool, well, we're glad to have you here.
Victoria, you were one step ahead of me. So I'm Danielle Casmasimo. My pronouns are she and her. I am a counselor and the Student Assistance Program Coordinator at Schaumburg High School. And my announcement is that we have 3 students from Schaumburg High School joining us today. Victoria is one of them. And she did attend several meetings last year. And then our 2 newer students joining us are Grant and Coy and Sola. So we're very happy to have them here.
Awesome. We're glad to welcome them into our space. And when we actually do have a category for youth, so any youth who also want to introduce themselves, they can in I think in the next category or so.
I'll go. I'm Maureen Mann. Pronouns are she, her. I am a counselor at Hoffman Estates High School and the Student Assistance Program Coordinator there as well.
I'm Cindy Gordon. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve with the Coalition Executive Board representing District 54 as Director of Special Education.
Yeah, great. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Beth Farr. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Social Work Department Chair for Schaumburg School District 54, and I also work at the Early Learning Center.
Hi, Ray Galarza, school social school social worker at Elk Grove High School, and also co-lead the YAC at my school.
Any other folks from schools that would like to introduce themselves? Alrighty, so the next category are youth. So I think we have two youth who are with us who, if you would like to introduce yourselves, you're more than welcome to, who haven't spoke. I know we already had one person speak.
Hello, my name is Corinne Solon. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a student at Schaumburg High School. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Welcome.
Yeah, hello, I'm Grant. Hello, everybody. I'm a student at Schaumburg High School.
Great to have you here as well. Next up are youth serving organizations, such as the YWCA or any others. Lastly, any other members of the community that we didn't go through, you are more than welcome to introduce yourselves, your pronouns, and your organization if you're affiliated with one.
Morning. Sorry I'm late, everybody. Christy from State Rep Mussman's office. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Lovely to have you here, Christy.
Thanks.
Hi, good morning. My name is Yvette. I am a family support specialist. I am with Family Focus, and we are a home visiting program. We work with mothers under the age of 24 as young as 16 years old, and our program is created and designed to help young parents in learning about family child milestones, and also their making sure that they participate in the development of their children, just because it's children raising children. So we are a nonprofit organization, and yeah, my pronouns are she, her, hers. Thanks.
Great to have you. Thank you so much, Yvette.
Hi, this is Liz Dubrovsky, and I just am sitting in for Heather Melnick. I'm with the Bridge Youth and Family Services, and my position there is the Mentor Program Coordinator. So, hi, everybody.
Great to have you as well, Liz. Okay, well, if anybody else would like to introduce themselves, you can do so. If not,
so I'll go with the Kenneth Young Center staff. If there are any non-Kenneth Young Center staff that need to introduce themselves, we'll give you your chance. If not, we can go to the next slide, Krupa, or whoever's doing the slide. Oh, actually, before we do that, is Joe back on? Did we get our technical assistance issue?
Joe is not on.
Oh, okay. Do we still have, I forgot to print the slides. Do we still have the KYC slide on here or no? Okay, thank you. Actually, if we go back up, I'll do Joe's slide for him in his absence. So Joe, our other co-chair, along with Yasi, The Trickster Cultural Center is now open to the public, which is fantastic. And on their website, you can find their calendar of events. And also they've announced their 7th annual national gathering of veterans and conference and powwow, which will be held at Cantini Park in Wheaton, excuse me, July 16th through 18th this summer. So it's outdoor with social distancing, et cetera. So you can go to the website, as I mentioned, to find out other events that are coming up, such as outdoor gardening for local native plants that they're working on in the area, but you can reach out to them for more information. So we go to the next slide now. So our agency, our division that works with the coalition has really grown. You know, Yasi can attest to that. Christy, others who have been around, Beth, since the very, very beginning when it was just 3 staff members working with the coalition when we formed the coalition 6 years ago. But we have really grown, and now we have 29 staff members overseeing about 14 different projects. And Nicole and I lead the division along with the assistance of Marian Lopez as the office manager and Miriam Aponte as the administrative assistants. We have 4 managers, actually 5, because Krupa has been promoted to a manager as well. We have team leaders, and then we have various project associates overseeing projects. So we will not go through all of the staff on the CPYD Coalition projects and teams. You can visit the website and you will see all the various projects that we oversee and the different things that are going on. But I will say, we'll talk about later with the, excuse me, we'll talk about later the town hall that's coming up. And we'll just leave it at that because there's so much going on. But you get to hear about the different projects as we do our capacity building exercises and whatnot. And one of them today is problem gambling or responsible gaming, which is one of the newer grants that we received this year through the assistance of the coalition. So we will go on and we'll have the subcommittee updates where you learn about the other projects.
All right, so here's just a quick slide about who is comprised of our executive committee, and these are the folks that are helping us with planning and developing these coalition meetings. So a big shout out and thank you to these folks here. You can go to the next slide, please. So our subcommittee updates, we are going to keep at least the adult subcommittee updates a little bit brief today and really focus on giving light to these youth advisory council folks and giving their updates and letting us know what's going on with them. So in regards to our data and strategic planning subcommittee, the next meeting is April 14th. So folks that are interested in attending that can mark their calendars. Our Elk Grove Township subcommittee, our next meeting is happening in a few weeks, March 31st. And then our Positive Youth Development Subcommittee, that one is really looking at working with folks that serve the Hanover Township community. And so that one is TBD, but they had just met in the beginning of March. So I will pass it now to our allies, our adult allies that are here today, and we're able to connect with the YAC and be able to provide the update. So we'll start with Marianne, who is the adult ally again for our Youth Advocates for Change.
Good morning, everyone. I have an update from our YAC students, and so everything I'm telling you are things that they wanted me to share with you. So the Youth Advocates for Change meet the first and third Wednesdays in the evening via Zoom, and so they meet tonight, which is pretty exciting. Recent projects that they've done, they made tie blankets for youth experiencing homelessness. The way we did this is we distributed the kits, and then at one of our meetings, the students who wanted to were able to make those tie blankets together while we were all also having a meeting. They are talking a lot about food insecurity and how we can help, specifically making a list of restaurants and grocery stores that give away food at the end of the day or food that is close to its expiration date. So we're working on that. We had, actually all of our YACs had the opportunity to have a new student-led organization called Say No to Plasticware come and present. This is a group of students from, I believe, Plum Grove Middle School, most of them, but they're young students who are really taking on this initiative. You can check out their website if you're interested in that. All of the YACs are also participating in a joint YAC initiative. They're creating a digital toolkit that is going to be for teachers and other educators, and it's all about student mental health. And finally, the Youth Advocates for Change are working hard to plan National Prevention Week. I'm going to go ahead and do Lake Park High School YAC also, just so that I don't have to go back and forth with other folks here. So the Lake Park High School is a fairly new youth advisory council for us to support, and they meet every other Friday. They've given valuable input to our community youth services programming for both youth and parents, and they've participated in lots of different life skills discussions, things like healthy relationships, mental health, executive functioning, and more. And the last thing I want to bring up before I pass it on to Ray is several students from, I think from a few of our different youth advisory councils were able to speak to the sponsors of the REACH Act, which is a bill that's going through the Illinois House and Senate pretty much as we speak. This week and next week, it's going to be in different committees. This is a bill that is all about personal health and safety information for grades kindergarten through 12th grade. The students were able to talk directly to the sponsors of that bill and give their input on different aspects of it. So that was a really cool way for the students to be able to do some advocacy work. And I'm going to pass it on to Ray.
Hello, everyone. So I co-lead, or I'm a, what is it? Adult advocate?
Ally.
Ally. I'm an adult ally for the Elk Grove YAC. I like that. I'm going to use that. So our YAC is a little different. We meet every Thursday for about an hour and a half. And what we really kind of focus on for like the first hour is SEL, social emotional de-stressing. We act like 5-year-olds, joke around, have fun, which the kids definitely need at this time. And then the last 30 minutes is when we'll get serious and do a lot of other things. So we've had a lot of CPYD members come in and do presentations for us on gambling, the plastic queer. And right now we're currently working on a couple of things. We're gonna have an activity that we're gonna do over spring break. So we're gonna bring the students in and watch the movie Coco and maybe do some other activities. We're also working on Operation Snowball, which will be virtual May 8th this year. And then that's our kind of kickoff right to the next week, which is National Prevention Week. So we're also getting ready for the activities that we're gonna do for that. So they've been busy as well. Oh, sorry, I don't know who's next.
No problem. Thank you so much. And then next we have Derek, who is the adult ally for, or one of the adult allies for our Rainbow Room YAC.
Hi everyone, I'm Derek. I use he, him, his pronouns. At KYC, I work under our substance use prevention grant, but I also work in close collaboration with the Q Center we have. So our YAC actually just recently got started in about November of last year, so we're still pretty new to the game. So we're still working on building up our YAC leaders and our YAC members. We take students from any high school that we serve that are in our serving areas. Anybody who's LGBTQ or anybody who falls in that community. It's an action group, and right now we're working on an art show is pretty much what we're working on right now, a queer art show. And some other things that we're doing is for National Prevention Week, we're going to be starting a TikTok as well that kind of focuses on healthy alternatives to substance use or any kind of negative or bad coping skill. So kind of just like a DIY, anything that can help individuals who are at home and struggling to find other outlets for themselves. So that's one thing that we're working on, but we're still just in the starting out phases, but it's a really, really tight group of kids and they really rely on each other because their sense of community support with COVID right now is pretty lacking. So that group is really their support group for now.
Great, thank you all so much. And I do have a request if folks could please, the three of you, Marianne, Ray, and Derek, maybe drop your email in our chat, just in case if anybody here has folks that are interested in attending any of these. Just to review again, that Youth Advocates for Change is open to mean, really all students, but specifically they are looking at, or it's comprised of students from the District 211 schools, Elk Grove High School, obviously Elk Grove High School students, Lake Park High School, again, obviously Lake Park High School students, and then that rainbow room yak, as Derek was saying, can be, yep, LGBTQ students from anywhere in the northwest suburbs. All right, I think we're good to move on. Thank you. Back to Marianne, who will give us an update on the Problem Gambling Awareness Month, which is the month of March.
Hello again, everyone. So I know that this slide has a lot of words on it, but we've been busy this month. So I just wanted to share with you everything that the responsible gaming team, which is Marissa and Cole, have been working on. They've actually had a Facebook Live town hall event with Cook County Commissioner Kevin Morrison just last Wednesday. So that was really exciting. We partnered with actually a gambling counselor in our service area, and she was also on that town hall. So that was really exciting to be able to spread the word about Problem Gambling Awareness Month that way. Marissa and Cole have also spoken to all 4 of the yaks that you just heard about problem gambling in youth and giving them kind of a history of gambling in Illinois. For those of you who were at, I believe it was our November coalition meeting, they did the same Kahoot that you all did. So it was kind of fun for the youth to learn about gambling that way. We will be having specific social media posts about Problem Gambling Awareness Month throughout this whole month. Most of them will be really specific to targeting healthcare workers and really asking healthcare workers to start screening for problem gambling, just like they screen for domestic violence and substance use. And finally, we have designed a new billboard. So Marissa and Cole and Dan worked really hard on the new billboard design. One of them is on Lake Street and one of them is a digital billboard on Dundee Avenue. And they are both the same message. So there you can see that. And this slide shows you the picture of not only the billboard, but also a screenshot of the Facebook Live town hall event. So it's a busy month for that team, but they're doing a great job.
Quick question, and I just sent a chat to Krupa. Is it possible to get the link to the Facebook Live in the chat so that folks can listen to that, the recording of it?
Yes, definitely. I'll share that link in the chat right now.
Great, thank you.
All right, so now we are going to move on to our more collaborative, participatory section of our meeting today. We are calling it our community connections. And when we were developing it, kind of this theme came up of education through conversation. So we're kind of coining that term for today. So I will pass it to Dawn to kind of go over some of our group agreements before we get put into these breakout rooms to have these discussions.
Great. Yeah, as Nicole said, this section is community connections, education through conversation. And these are just a few things to help us in our time together. The first and one of the most important things to know when you go into the group is peer-led and peer monitored. So there isn't an assigned group leader. It's not a KYC staff person that's leading the conversation. It's meant to be exactly what it said, education through conversation. So wanted to let you know that. The time together will be relationship driven. We want everyone to feel safe and treated with respect. So keep that in mind. Conversations that we are having may be tricky or uncomfortable, but we agree going into them that we will take personal responsibility for our intent and impact of our own words. And the good news is that sometimes some of the more uncomfortable conversations are where we learn the most. So just go in being prepared to listen and learn, and sort of related to that in group dynamics, just give opportunity for everyone in the group to speak. Sometimes just taking a moment of silence so somebody who's a little quieter can jump in and talk is helpful. And then also, we're all different in like the level of vulnerability we're comfortable with. As it says here, some may be more open and vulnerable than others, but try to suspend judgment of one another's level of openness. So that's it as we head into our groups.
All right, thank you, Dawn. So this first breakout room, we're going to be talking about the impact that culture has on our mental health. So this is a question that we'll be addressing. How does your culture including religion, ethnicity, race, etc., influence how you think about mental health? And when coming up with this question, we obviously know that the COVID pandemic has kind of wreaked havoc on our mental health, worldwide. So we obviously have to be concerned about the long-term impact on our mental health as a whole. According to the CDC, the proportion of US adults with symptoms of anxiety disorder and or depressive disorder have quadrupled since before the pandemic, with women and people of color being disproportionately affected. And we know that minorities in the US are also less likely to get mental health treatment or will wait a little bit longer until symptoms are severe before actually seeking treatment. So with that being said, this is the question that we're posing to the group. At this point, I think Dan is going to be setting us up into different breakout rooms, into small groups, and then we'll be able to discuss this question and then come back as a group to kind of debrief for a few minutes before going into the next breakout room with a different topic. So let's get at it.
Great, I'll go ahead and start the breakout rooms. Here in a moment, you'll be assigned a breakout room and you'll have approximately 10 minutes for this question. Okay, and all the breakout rooms should be closed now, so welcome back, everyone.
Thank you, Dan. So now that we're back as a big group, so would anybody like to share for a few minutes? We have 3 minutes to debrief, but anybody have any interesting points or things they learned that they want to share with the group?
I'll go ahead and share what our group talked about. I think one of the first things is that even in traditional families, there might be members that take on a particular role in terms of like how open the family will be about sharing thoughts and feelings related to mental health. So for example, you might have a father who is very tough-skinned, you suck it up and you go. And you have another, like a mom who might be involved in social services and kind of shares with the other family members that there's acceptance in terms of the conversation and support for seeking mental health. And we also talked about, well, it also depends on whether or not, if you, for example, come from a Native background or a community of color, do you subscribe to traditional holistic types of support and practices versus more westernized healing practices. So we had a really great conversation about both of those.
And then Victoria and Chrissy and we talked about how we're still fighting through stigma when it comes to mental health. And it's really sad to see where in some communities, people who could very well benefit from the support and advocacy and education that we at NAMI provide, but they hold back because of stigma. People are still embarrassed. And we do this beautiful thing at NAMI called Ending the Silence, where we show the children a slide presentation of celebrities who have identified with having a mental health condition. And sometimes you would think that that would be the buffer that they need to say, now I can stand up and say that I'm a sufferer too. But it's because of stigma that some still don't want to identify. They don't want people to know that they're going to a program or a class that's related to mental health. So that was the conversation myself and Victoria and Christy had.
All right, thank you both for sharing. Anybody else?
I was with Ray and Yvette and Daryl, and my takeaway is that groups like these, especially the larger coalition and the breakouts like this, are a step of education that needs to happen, particularly with parents, because of the stigmas that have been expressed here. And things that I've learned from my daughter, who's done a lot of work in this with Kenneth Young, is really to make connections on a broader scope with parents in small groups, with churches, with more schools, PTAs, et cetera, so that there's a safe place and to continue having the conversation. So the work that you're doing is a good foundation for education. It's a matter of making the connections in smaller groups among parents and other generations.
All right, thank you, Michael. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next breakout room on the topic of diversity, racial equity, and inclusion. Shireen? Yes.
So this question comes from a lot of the DEI or DREI work that folks have been doing over that have stepped up, I would say, in the last year, because we've been doing, a lot of folks have been doing this work for decades and hundreds of years for some of us. But people will say things like, and I've heard this many times, where they'll say, well, I don't see color. I'm colorblind. Well, when I look at you, I don't see a Black person, or I don't see an Asian person. And so for some folks, they appreciate that comment. And for other folks, they don't appreciate that comment. So I thought it would be great for us to have a conversation. What do you think of the concept of being colorblind when it comes to diversity and race? So let's go to breakout rooms and have that conversation. What do you think of the concept of being colorblind, or when folks say, I don't see color, in the conversation around diversity, racial equity, and inclusion? What did you say last time, Marion? Let's get to it. I've never heard you say that. Go to your room. Okay, great. I forgot I was supposed to facilitate this part then. Okay, so wow, I hope everyone's doing well. Take a deep breath. Exhale. So would anyone like to share, non-KYC staff, by the way, I wanted to put that out there. Would anyone like to share their experience from their room? Just unmute yourself. Oh, bye, Christy.
I wanted Krupa to go, but she's a KYC member.
Yeah.
So our room was pretty cool because we were kind of like dissecting it from a lot of different angles, from what the word colorblind means, like to not be able to see color in its actual literal sense, and like what you're missing out if you can't see color, to the reference with race and diversity, that you don't really see the differences in people, the great qualities, the colors of purple pop here, or whatever it may be. But we were kind of talking about how that is seen as a negative, and how a lot of people might go into it thinking like, oh, that's actually a good quality, like saying, oh, well, I'm colorblind, I'm being nice to everybody, but like within itself, that's a microaggression right there. And Shane, I'm going to share the story that I went through with you at that training a couple of years ago. So we were in this training, and they brought up the word colorblind, and everybody was talking, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait, I'm not racist. I'm not, I don't have implicit bias. And I raised my hand and I started talking. I'm like, yeah, when I have a student that's coming, I'm a social worker, and I have a student that comes to my office, and I'm thinking about like, oh, I might have to hospitalize them. And I'm thinking that the question that I might ask a student that comes from my mobile home, oh, do you have public aid? Do you have a medical card? Whereas where I have a student that comes from maybe a very wealthy, I'm like, oh, so where's your private insurance from? And even just that thought, as I said it out loud, I just kind of stopped, and I'm like, oh, I do have implicit bias, and I do kind of see things differently, kind of even colorblind. I say that I do it, but I say that I want to be but I shouldn't be, and I should acknowledge that. And you know, we have to own that. So yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, you know, being open and honest about yourself, you know. Thank you. Do we have time for one more person to share? I don't know who's the timekeeper. You all better tell me because I'll just.
Yes, we have time.
Okay, one more, one other group. Youth, how about a youth? Is there anyone from the high school that wants to share? I'm not calling anyone out.
We actually had a really good conversation. We kind of talked about how we felt like now being colorblind has a negative connotation, how we felt like by saying like you're colorblind that you don't recognize someone else's like background and you don't recognize who they are as a person. And we felt like that also stems from the fact that like even like a few months ago, like before like all the events that took place this summer, it kind of felt like you kind of just wanted to be quiet and like you didn't want to like grow and like learn about other people's cultures and ethnicities, and you were kind of scared to like recognize that they were like Black or they were Hispanic or Asian. And we felt like since people started recognizing that more and started having those conversations, that people learned that it's better to recognize those things instead of just keeping quiet, because being quiet is also a bad thing. So we just thought it was interesting that through the conversations that people have been having, how open-minded we've become and how we've been able to learn more and recognize people more and like how unique they are.
Right. Thank you so much, Victoria. I appreciate it. So I will turn it over to Derek, who will introduce the next question and the background and where the question comes from.
All right, so I messed up a little bit in the first breakout room, and I asked my group this question. So I'm so sorry. I was like out of the loop for just a hot second, but those people have an advantage for this question. So, so the question is, what role do we have as professionals in supporting LGBTQ youth in our community? And again, it goes back to a lot of our youth right now are struggling to have support systems in their schools through virtual learning and also at home. So what can we do to, you know, support these individuals and really allow them to thrive?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assign you back to your breakout groups, and we'll have approximately 10 minutes for this question as well.
All right, so I could help out with, so for this one, what, any folks want to kind of say anything, what was happening, what conversations were happening within your groups?
I would like to share if that's okay.
Please, yes.
I was sharing with my group, I was kind of at being a little, I was being frank and kind of explaining that I am a home visitor, and I am, as a paraprofessional in the human service field, I have not been able to experience any kind of LGBTQ type of situation, or where we call them participants, all the participating moms who participate in our nonprofit program. And I was telling Shireen and the rest of the group that I have never come across that kind of situation. And Shireen kind of blew my mind when she said, well, have you, in my words, the way I understood it, have you ever thought that maybe, you know, they are experiencing a sexuality identity troublesome, and you just can't identify it because they're just, you know, the society pressures them into Shireen, help me out here. Society pressures them into fit in the boy-girl relationship type of thing. And she kind of just blew my mind. In other words, I don't even know how to like repeat what she said, because she said it so incredibly, I don't know. So I just wanted to share that I haven't had an experience like that. And I have a majority of the families that we work with, majority of them are immigrants who just illegally crossed the border, perhaps maybe about a year. Some of them have been here for 5 years. But to be quite honest, I myself, I don't think we've ever addressed a sexuality, to identify their sexuality, or if they're struggling with something that they just don't want to express among the world or their family members because they don't want to be looked down upon. So I just wanted to share that, or maybe if Shireen could kind of help me out on how exactly. She also did mention that, she just told me teen pregnancy is high among bisexual youth. So again, it goes back to, teens are pressured into fitting in with the boy-girl relationship or man-woman relationship, especially in the Black and Latinx youth.
Thank you so much, Yvette, for sharing. Anyone, and as we are going through this conversation too, I do just want to throw out there, Krupa will put in the chat a link to our satisfaction survey as a result of this training today, or I'm sorry, meeting today. So we do really want folks to please complete that, but I want to make sure we can get maybe one more person to kind of respond and talk about how their group went.
Leslie.
All right.
Carol's putting you out there,
was gonna push me into this, and I apologize for not being as articulate as I'd like to be here, but I think really the gist of what our conversation was involved being mentors or providing mentorship, and if not direct mentors, at least being visible as professionals or relatively successful in our fields and members of the LGBTQ plus community. It's a matter of, and I use the word, and I hate the word, normalizing being a lesbian in my office, being accessible, being a safe place, but not even necessarily doing it intentionally. The fact that students, interns, young employees in my office can see that we have other members of our senior staff who are just living their lives with me, a picture of my wife on my desk, providing the notion of it's okay. We're looking at merit, we're looking at skills, we're looking at experience, rather than always pointing out that you're gay first. And I know I'm not articulating this quite right, so Daryl, please jump in and sort of reshape this in the right way, or the way that I think you heard what I was trying to say. But I think mentoring is incredibly important, especially from those who are not necessarily in the social service fields. Did I get that close to what you were thinking of, Daryl?
Just drop the mic and walk away.
Boom.
Not having been in the group, Leslie, I think I'm totally receiving and understanding what you're saying. So I think that was, yeah, I completely agree. And that's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so I want to be aware of folks' time. It is 11:31, so I will throw my time check out there. I did put again that link to our satisfaction survey in the chat. If we could go to the next slide, thank you. So kind of coinciding with that conversation, that last question that we were just having, and how can we support LGBTQ youth in our communities? We have our special unveiling we have a date determined for our Vita X LGBTQ plus training series, and that is going to be June 10th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So please mark it in your calendars. More information to come on what we will be doing, workshops, different things like that. We are going to definitely try to have those different appeal to different stakeholders within the community. So youth are well invited to attend, professionals, parents, all along the whole, our sectors that we went through in the beginning. So we do invite you all. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then we did do a QR code here for folks, if that's a little bit easier, having phones or whatever type of electronic devices there, you can pull up there. And I do really want to encourage folks to please, please, please fill it out, just so that we can know what we're doing well and what types of things within our meetings that we can be doing better at. So thank you all so much. I will pass it, I think, to Joe and Yasi. Back to you all.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for sharing this time together. I think even when I was taking down notes, every time we have our meetings, there are so many things that we learn and that maybe we want to follow up with, or people we want to follow up with. So we encourage you to do that. And join us for our annual town hall meeting that is scheduled for May 12th at 6 o'clock. Please go ahead and register, and we will be sending out information prior to the meeting just to give people a little bit of an idea of what the agenda will look like. And unless there are any burning questions or comments, we will adjourn for today.
I think Joe had one.
Okay, Joe?
Yep.
Joe, are you around?
Joe again had some technical difficulties in his back off.
Okay.
He was here.
Yeah, he was. We saw him. Well, we'll find out what that is, Shireen, or do you know what that is?
Yes, it is. I have to scroll up. Sorry.
While you do that, Marion, do you think we could go back to that survey slide so that folks can do that code if that's easier? Thank you.
Yeah, we'd really love if folks fill this out because we base our programming off of what the community needs. So if you all feel like there's an issue that we should talk about in our coalition meetings, please, there's a space to actually put it in. So we truly do take your feedback very seriously and also literally. Like I think we really take it into deep consideration. So I just want to encourage folks to fill it out. Yeah.
Trickster Solstice event and Unity Fire is this Saturday. So it's right along the same lines of what we talked about today. It's in Schaumburg at the Trickster Cultural Center. If you go back to that slide, you don't have to do it right now, but on the slide deck, we had the Trickster's calendar, but that's basically it. It's the Solstice event and Unity Fire. All set. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds great. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. And those of you who have a traditional spring break, enjoy. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.